I served OJ at Silver Springs for the Men's World Championship High Dive competition broadcast by ABC Wide World of Sports. And in Nashville, we kicked off a Florida citrus recipe competition, and I had the chance to stand on the celebrated Grand Ole Opry stage. And then I had never been out of the country, and we did a convention in Toronto, which was very exciting. And then years later, I had the chance to return with my screenwriter husband, Art, to Toronto and visit many of the same locations because he was shooting one of his movies there called She Drives Me Crazy for Lifetime, and it ended up winning Canada's Best TV Film Award for that year. Tremendously. Though I'd worked in retail and fashion special events, 77 was the most eye-opening education in marketing and advertising, soft selling, and most importantly, diplomacy, because that was the year Anita Bryant began her Save the Children campaign, which prompted boycotts of Florida citrus across the nation. So despite that, everywhere we went, my goal was to create lifelong customers for Florida citrus. And I gained a lot of confidence that year. My husband Art and I had worked in modeling and acting. So in 1982, we began Lisa Maile Image Modeling and Acting School in Winter Park and operated for 22 years. And I'm so proud that 4 of our young ladies became citrus queens. It began with Renee McLeod, then Dana Morgan, who actually crowned one of her fellow students, Becca Cherney, and most recently, Summer Foley in 2015. So we sold our school in 2004, and since then I've worked through Lisa Maile seminars and coaching, presenting training for corporations and having the pleasure of coaching one-on-one for confidence development, communication skills, branding, sharing some of the tidbits that I learned through Florida Citrus. I served OJ at a powder puff airplane derby, meeting the female pilots and seeing their aircrafts close up. I worked at the Walt Disney World Citrus Pavilion with my friend, a big costume friend, Orange Bird. And then years later, when I taught at Disney Institute instructing a class in fashion and image, someone actually recognized me from my citrus days. And then in Chicago, we did an event in December where we were unloading citrus on the docks and then transferred to Northwestern Station, where we served Florida OJ for 3 hours. And during that period, it ranged from 0 to 14 degrees, which is another reason, besides Florida citrus, to love our state. Since Citrus Queen is now a Miss America prelim, all contestants need to have a talent to perform. They need to be in great shape for the fitness competition, and the most important component would be your communication skills, because this is you branding Florida Citrus. So I'd recommend anybody do as much volunteer speaking as possible, tape yourself to critique, then learn everything there is to learn about the Florida citrus industry. And finally, practice, practice, practice your interviewing skills for when you meet the judges. What a wonderful celebration for all of us who've had the privilege and honor to represent the Florida citrus industry. Thank you so much for featuring us, and may we give Brenda Eubanks a big round of applause. Thank you, Brenda. That to represent the Florida citrus industry, you are going to be a brand ambassador. And that means exemplary PR skills, that you have to have a smile on your face all the time because you are the representation of Florida citrus. The Citrus Queen contest I entered in '77 was quite different because it was an interview pageant, despite the fact that we had swimsuit and evening gown competition. There were 4 intense days of interviews with all of our judges. And for me, I've always felt very lucky because I was the oldest contestant, I was the only one with a college degree, and I had done some retail and fashion promotions. So actually, I think I kind of won by default. My favorite celebrity was my traveling companion for 10 months who worked with me out of state, and that was Nance Haynes, who, as Nance Stilley 30 years before me, was also Florida Citrus Queen. She was a firecracker with the best personality and sense of humor, yet always professional and so supportive, so we had a blast at every appearance. I also met Anita Bryant and Bob Green, who emceed our pageant. They were very warm and friendly. I worked with Phyllis Diller once at a luncheon, and she was as sweet off stage as she was crazy on stage. And then in Nashville, I met Roy Acuff, the father of country music, as well as performers Dottie West and Buck Owens. Well, it wasn't funny, ha-ha, and the first time we had oranges hurled at us in a parade, I admit it was quite a shock. But after that, we were ready for it. And any naysayers that we encountered, we killed with kindness and gave them fresh Florida OJ and citrus. And no, we didn't throw it at them. I learned many life lessons my year. I learned you can't drink our tasty OJ all day long and then dine nightly on delicious dinners provided by the Department of Citrus reps and not gain weight. So I had to adjust my daytime meals accordingly. I learned how impressionable children were, and it was always so much fun to teach them about the nutritional benefits of our OJ and citrus. And then I was reminded of how impactful our kindness and attention can be with the senior population, who always seem to be the most appreciative and seem sometimes very lonely. In fact, there was one man, late 80s, who came to see me in a mall and shared with me, "You will be the only person that I talk to today. Lucky me." And I responded, "No, lucky me." Because we all know that the sunshine we share with others isn't just Florida citrus.